Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday morning. I hope everybody's doing good. We're going to do some notes this morning. This will be the first attempt that we are going to try to have a YouTube video. So anyway, I'm going to go over some things with you, and you can use these notes to work on your Chapter 9.2 quiz. One of the first things we talked about in class the other day when we began this chapter was Joseph Stalin. He wanted a sphere of influence that he could control all of Eastern Europe, and that Western Europe and Eastern Europe would be divided, Eastern Europe being communist, Western Europe being non-communist countries. Another agency that was formed in 1945 that I wanted to talk to you about a little bit was the UN, the United Nations, and it was formed really just to maintain international peace and security. And a lot of people in the Western Hemisphere were upset that what Joseph Stalin was trying to do was just create an iron curtain. And what the Iron Curtain did was just it separated communist Eastern Europe from democracy. And then to further complicate this, Mao Zedong allied China with the Soviet Union, and he and Joseph Stalin spread communism even further. So those are a few notes. I know I'm kind of going fast. You guys know that I talk fast anyway. And that kind of leads us to the Cold War. And the Cold War was really not a war per se. What the Cold War was is it was just the thought, or the United States thought that, in America we were surrounded by communist spies, and just the entire threat of nuclear war, the capability of nuclear war. They thought that, the government had been infiltrated with spies, and so everybody was sort of on edge about that. And that was something that everybody needed to be aware of. And another thing, too, the big thing was just the fear of nuclear war. The Attorney General, Howard McGrath, at the time warned Americans that, quote, in factories, offices, butcher shops, street corners, everywhere, communists were all around. So the fear of communism became a serious problem for social and political activists. A few other things that changed. Congress made some changes in 1950, and they added a couple of things to the national motto. Congress added the words "under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance and declared the phrase "in God we trust" as the national motto. Again, I think that was just to reiterate that we were a democratic nation, and just to keep or prevent any further spread of communism in the United States. So that takes us through pages 348, 349. I had given you guys some notes on 348, 349, 350. The Korean War, we won't go real in depth with the Korean War. North Korea, or communist North Korea, invaded non-communist South Korea, and in that war, about 50,000 Americans died. As we always talk about, North Carolina, or just Americans in general, always come to the aid of other countries in a time of need. And what we were trying to do there is we were trying, again, to prevent the spread of communism. Again, about 50,000 American soldiers died. About 110,000 were wounded. North Carolina lost 784 soldiers. More than 2 million Koreans and Chinese died. So anyway, read that section on page 351, the Korean War, what's going on with the world, those green sections. Take a few minutes and read that section. And then that takes us to page 352. On page 352, just to hit on a few different things, there was the GI Bill, and what the GI Bill did, it was something that was created to pay veterans college education. So if you served your country and you came back, the GI Bill would pay for college education. If I'm not mistaken, I think that bill is still in existence today. Another person that we'll talk about, and when we get back to school, hopefully we can talk about him a little more. He's probably one of the most famous North Carolinians. He was an evangelical preacher, Billy Graham. He was huge. He was in Charlotte, and from this point forward in this chapter, it really just talks just random things that were going on in the 50s. So anyway, so for today's lesson, just make sure that you have read pages 348 through 353. and just kind of going back and taking some of the notes on some of the things that I've talked to you about. And then we'll have another YouTube video in a couple of days and go from there. So for now, if you'd like, you can go ahead and do this chapter 9.2 quiz. I'll talk about a few other things tomorrow and or the next day. And for now, just work on your chapter 9.2 quiz, get that completed. We'll let that be for a quiz grade. I hope everybody's doing well. We are at the beach just hanging out. It's raining today. And anyway, don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions. And I'll see you guys later. If you need anything, give me a call. Bye.